to round 5 of the 2019 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship live from Lydd in Kent. I'm Liam Hodgins, and alongside me for this weekend is Chris McCarthy. Chris, thanks for joining me this weekend.
Always a pleasure.
So this is day number 2 of the race action. We had 9 races yesterday from all of the categories. We've got 18 more today. Fantastic race action, and so far so good. The weather appears to be dry, so fingers crossed it can stay that way. So yesterday, lots of race conditions, lots of horrible weather, but managed to get some great racing action. And so you can check that back on our live stream. So Facebook, on Twitter, and you can also catch us live today on Facebook at Motorsport Radio, FAB-Racing, and of course on Twitter at FAB-Racing and Motorsport Radio. And for the first time this weekend, we're broadcasting live on motorsport.tv. Now, before we get into the racing action, this weekend we caught up with some fantastic stars of the future and of course some riders that are making it big on the world scene. So Max, you're here at FAB for round number 5 here at Lydd. You're also racing in the Red Bull Rookies Championship and of course the Moto3 Junior World Championship. What brings you down to Lydd this weekend?
So I'm here obviously to come back to my roots, and support FAB-Racing. It's where I've grown up and it's how it's got me to where I am today. And also I'm here to support my brother James, who's in the Metric 70 class. He's doing a really good job. I think he's leading the championship right now. So he's just going to do his best, and show promise to see where it's going to take him, for the future.
Yeah, you say you're here supporting James this weekend. What sort of advice are you giving him?
So really it's just, here is all about learning. I know a lot of kids, they put a lot of pressure on themselves and they think this is, some crazy, I don't really know, but they put too much pressure on themselves. And here it's all about having fun. You get to spend a weekend away from home, you get to ride a bike. It's amazing for a kid to do, And with James, he does put a lot of pressure on himself. He's one of them kids who does get caught up, and it's just letting him have a good time. So I'm just trying to reassure him that he's going to be fine. He just has to do his best and we can have a good weekend.
Now you've got a really busy schedule this season, so I'm surprised you're actually here finding time for FAB. But you're doing the Red Bull Rookies and of course the Junior World Championship. What is the biggest contrast between both of those championships?
So both of the championships I'm running, so in Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup, I'm actually racing the KTM Moto3, which is a 250 single cylinder bike. And basically in a Junior World Championship I'm riding on a Honda with the Junior Talent team, and the two bikes are, although they're both a Moto3, they're completely different in the way they handle and power delivery. Everything's quite different, so it's difficult swapping between bikes, especially on a back-to-back weekend, but I'm managing it, and so far I'm doing really good in both championships. I'm making solid improvement in the Junior World Championship, and also I got my first podium in the Red Bull Rookies Cup, so I'm really happy with how the season's going, and I look forward to how the end of the season's going to go.
Which bike do you feel suits your riding style, either the KTM or the Honda?
So at first, basically my riding style is really smooth. I like to be smooth and in control. With the KTM, when I first got on it, it's super stiff, and you have to, chuck it in the corners, and you got to be so aggressive with it. And at first, it didn't really suit my riding style, but the more I've, learned how to ride it, I'm just really getting to grips with just, hanging onto it and just riding the wheels off it, And the KTM, the Honda's really good for, it should, or it does actually suit my riding style, where it's so smooth around the corners and on the power. But to be honest, in my opinion, they're both the same. You have the different riding styles for each bike, and I can't really decide which one's better.
You're racing against a lot of young talent from all around the world, and both Red Bull Rookies and the CEV Junior World Championship. They're both very competitive. What is the hardest in terms of competition?
The hardest, I would say in both championships, of course, they are the best riders, and best kids riders in the world. Whereas in Junior World, there's about 40 riders on the grid, but on Red Bull Rookies, there's about 22. So there's more people at the same level in the Junior World Championship. So there's more people to get in the way, and I guess more people to beat, But in Red Bull Rookies, there's less people and you have a better chance, you know, of being at the front, and the racing's a lot closer. There's less mistakes, I find, in the Rookies Cup. I don't know why, but it's just how it is, and I'm able to, you know, run at the front. But my time in the junior world hasn't come just yet. You know, I'm still learning the bikes and some of the new tracks, and I just haven't got to grips with being right at the front just yet.
What's the biggest difference between the British tracks and the European circuits?
The biggest thing I find is, now with the GP tracks, if you go off the track, there's green concrete, so it's safe if you were to make a mistake. But in the British tracks, you just have wet grass, I guess. So, you know, there's some tracks that I do miss in England, but the GP tracks are so much better.
They look incredible, those tracks. Now, you've had a podium so far this season in the Red Bull Rookies. What are you aiming for the rest of the season? A race win?
Oh yeah, it's got to be on the list, that. So I'm, you know, trying my best every single time and enjoying myself as well. So I just got to see what happens, but obviously give it my all.
Now you're going from strength to strength this season in 2019. 2020 is not too far away already. What's your plans for next season?
So far, there's nothing yet. You know, I haven't really been told anything of what I'm doing. You know, I'd love to still be doing, you know, what I'm doing this year, and to be able to do it for another year, just to see him progress. I tried to win Red Bull Rookies Championship, see if they take me on for a third year, and also I'd love to be in for another year at the junior talent team.
Well, we'll hope to see you there, and obviously moving into MotoGP in the future. Now, there's a lot of kids around this paddock that look up to you. What is the biggest advice you could probably give them?
The biggest advice I could give these kids is really just enjoy their weekend. That's it. Here it doesn't matter. Here's about being a good rider, learning new skills on and off the bike, meeting new people. So that's what I can give them.
Max, thank you very much for your time, and for the rest of 2019, the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. So, Harvey Claridge, you are racing in the British Talent Cup this season, and of course here racing in the Pitbike 140s and the Extreme 200s. How's it compare, switching from Moto3 Honda to the Pitbike 140 and Extreme 200s here at FAB?
It's really fun, to be honest, coming on the smaller bikes. It's just great fun to have a mess about with the others here, and it's just really good fun.
Now, you're sort of a graduate of FAB over the years, but you're just having a bit of fun, as you say. What keeps bringing you back every single time?
It's just a great place, to be honest. It's really fun, and it's just a good environment to be around. Like the racing, it's really good racing, it's well run, so it's just really good to come back.
So you're racing in the British Talent Cup this year, you're right up the front, you're mixing it in the championship. How do you feel like the season has gone as a whole?
The start of the season we've been making good progress, and now at BSB we're making good progress. I got my first race win at Knockhill, and then at BTC we've had a few problems, but we're starting to get back up there now. We've starting to file them out.
So what were the few problems that you were having?
It's just mainly just set up. We couldn't get the bike set up how we wanted it to get set up, but now we've worked on it and it's getting there.
So moving forward ahead of the rest of the season, what are your hopes for the remaining rounds? Because you're going to Brno next week. Have you ever raced there before?
No, I've never raced at Brno. Hopefully I can be in the front group at Brno and then maybe get a podium if I'm lucky.
So who's your biggest challenges for the championship and the race wins you're seeing so far this season?
Well, to get a race win it's going to be quite difficult, because I've got to face Scott Ogden and Cameron Horseman and Fenton Seabright. Like, they're really quick at the moment, but hopefully I can mix it with them at the next round.
Now, what is one of the rounds that you're still looking forward to coming up to? Brno next weekend, but you've also got Valencia at the end of the season. Do you prefer the British tracks or do you prefer the European ones?
The British tracks, they're good, but the European tracks are just a lot more flowing, and they're better environment really. So I'm really looking forward to Brno next weekend.
Could be a step in the right direction for your future. Now, going into 2020, what are you hoping to do for next season?
Next year we'll be doing the British Talent Cup at BSB, and that's pretty much it for the year. Just do that.
Is there anything else that you're looking into possibly doing apart from the British Talent Cup in 2020?
Not really. We'll of course come to FAB to keep riding, keep fit, but that's mainly it.
And one last wee thing about this weekend here at Lydd. What are your hopes? Are you hoping to pick up that first race win that you've been so close to in the Pitbike 140s?
Yeah, it'd be great to beat J King this weekend, and there's a few new ones coming into it as well, so it'll be good to battle it with them.
Harvey, thanks very much for your time. It's an absolute pleasure.
That's alright.
That was great to hear from some young stars of the future. Max Cook, who's racing in the Red Bull Rookies and the Moto3 CEV World Championship, and of course Harvey Cloud in the British Talent Cup. Now, earlier on this weekend, we spoke to Roger Keys, who's the race director here at FAB, and he had let us into a little bit of an insight of the future of FAB and of course the British Talent Cup. Joining me in the studio is FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes race director Roger Keys. Roger, thanks for joining us today.
Pleased to do that, and pleased to talk about this series as much as you want. So.
Yeah, we would love to talk about it in such depth. So we're here at round number 5 in Lydd in Kent, and well, the 2019 FAB Championship has just been absolutely stellar. Now, what are the plans going forward for the championship from 2020 and beyond?
Well, to be honest, there'll be a lot of opportunities for the young riders now. Obviously, they go through starting at the very bottom and work their way to the top end of our champion or junior championship, because we do have seniors, and I don't want to ignore those. But the junior championship finishes out with the mini GP 70s, and that's normally when they get to approximately 12 years old. And as things stand, that will give them the opportunity to actually go on and do British Talent Cup in its new format in next year, which will move it quite a way towards BSB, well, completely towards BSB ultimately. But it does mean that every rider that can get the funds together, and it is very, very subsidised. It's not completely free like it was before, but heavily subsidised. Any rider can then actually go into the championship as long as they're no older than 17 years on Jan the 1st next year. They can be 18 during that year, but they must be 17 or under. And I believe the lowest age is going to be 12 years old. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to happen with the licensing system, but I understand it will be sorted out and that will happen. Certainly leaves us with the opportunity for maybe 5, 6 or even 7 of our riders being able to go forward from there. And I think we should try and take some steps to get them an interim bike to get used to the slightly higher power. Although we've had even Eddie O'Shea was in British Talent Cup this year, not even having moved to 70s at that time. He was only riding mini GP50, and all right, he hasn't set the world light in the class, but he hasn't and nothing to be ashamed of. So I think that's quite a good idea of what the talent is at this level.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's quite a lot of talent coming through the system at the moment. Talking about the mini GP 70s, now it's a very tough competition in the class. What is it about that category that just makes it so incredibly brilliant?
Well, I think the bikes are all the same. That's step one. We're fairly strict on that. They have to run the same. They have a choice of tyre compounds, but they all have to run the same tyre, which also happens in quite a lot of other championships. That equalises it a lot. The motors are, as best we can, the same. They're not allowed to modify them, tune them or whatever. And again, that helps to make them equal. And the riders actually ultimately pull each other along. Somebody gets a little bit ahead and the other one thinks, well, he can do that, I can do that, and then it moves down the line. And I mean, we've had situations now where 6, 7 or even 8 riders have been less than a second between them in qualifying, sometimes half a second, and that really leads to close racing, good competition, and improves the breed.
It absolutely does. Now we're back here at Lydd for the first time since 2016 in Kent. The mini GP 70s have been breaking a lot of lap records over the entire season. Do you feel like it's just the competition within the category, or do you just feel like each track is improving? What is the combination that keeps this from getting better?
It's definitely the fact that the riders are getting better. I mean, the competition is much stiffer. I think we're somehow closing them up. It's even happening in the 50s. The 50 class has become closer than ever before. 70 class, I think, is closer than it's ever been before. And they're constantly breaking lap records at each circuit we go to in those classes. And it's not always the person who wins the race. It can be the 6th position rider who actually breaks the lap record. That gives an indication of how close it all is and how that talent, and I quite expect those maybe 6 or even 7 riders, if they can sort themselves out for sponsors and so on, and obviously we have to get used to that. They do need sponsorship. They can all go into British Talent Cup next year, and I think they'll prove just how good the championship is. And it's the place to be. And because we have the complete stepping stones from 6 years old through to 12 years old in gradual increments, it does work.
It does indeed work a lot. Now, we're here at Lydd, and as we said earlier on, it's for the first time since 2016. How great is it to be back at such a rider favourite circuit?
it's very good, except it's limited paddock space, and that's not having a go at the circuit. I understand it will be enlarged again. It's been enlarged. It's still not big enough because the championship is getting bigger. It'll be bigger again next year, and we have plans to actually get hold of some extra space to park more people. So don't be put off by that. We will find space for everybody at next year's rounds, even here. And here, well, everybody loves the circuit because it's quite technical, it's quite grippy. I mean, today it's raining, but they seem to be going really quickly. In fact, Harvey Claridge, who is currently a BTC rider, was out on a 140 showing the Extreme 200 riders how it should be done, frightening me to death, but he was riding extremely well. And again, he'll be at Brno next weekend racing alongside the Grand Prix, and that's what'll happen. So in the future with this 2020 series, Dorna will select a rider from that series, not necessarily the winner, by the way, to go on to Junior World Championship, which is what Max Cook is in, who also came from Masters in this year. And I understand there'll be a fairly significant prize for the winner anyway, and other prizes that will come along. I don't have those full details, but they will be unveiled over the next few weeks.
We look forward to indeed hearing about the details of the British Talent Cup, but just talking a little bit about hear there from Roger Keys. Now, don't worry, you will be able to hear the rest of that interview a little bit later on today, so stay tuned, of course, on Facebook at Motorsport Radio, and of course, FAB-Racing on Twitter as well at Motorsport Radio and at FAB-Racing. We're also broadcasting live this weekend on motorsport.tv, so plenty to talk about there. I've got lots of coverage coming up, and of course, some more interviews with future stars. That's all coming up a little bit later on today. Now, Chris, so it's great to hear from some of the young riders. Max Cook, you know quite well, do race reports for him. Now, how is he doing? How is he handling the pressure of racing in the Red Bull Rookies and, of course, over in Spain at the moment?
I think very well. You know, he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's the only British rider in both of those championships. That's quite a lot of pressure, you know, to be selected to do both of those. He's chosen to be good enough, and particularly in the CV Moto3 Junior World Championship, he has to adapt to a team situation where he's racing with the junior talent team, which is a huge setup. A lot of Asian riders they select to be a part of that team, as well as Max as well, and he's having to kind of join that and get used to the process of what you do throughout a big team over the weekend. You know, it's a completely different step to racing in something like this, which he was doing not so long ago, and it just, you know, sets a precedent for the guys racing in this series at the moment. It shows them what they could potentially go and do, and we've already got riders on their way there doing the British Talent Cup who come back and do this series, and we've spoke to some of those this weekend already. We've been hearing from those on the build up to this first race. So yeah, it's fantastic. We've got so many talented riders in this, and then we go down to our, you know, AC40 Pro and rookie riders, and even in there, you know, they've already got riders that they look up to that are here every weekend or coming in just for some weekends. So this really is a fantastic series. It really gets you ready, I think, for getting on to the British Talent Cup. You know, fantastic stuff, and we come to really good tracks like Lydd. You know, we haven't been here for 3 years. Different circuit, I think it's fair to say. Some of the ones we go to, it's it doesn't give you a lot of overtaking opportunities, and you're going to come across tracks like that when you go and race on later in your career. So to learn about being patient throughout a race, to take your chances when they come, is something that's going to be crucial, I think, to these riders throughout their careers, and to show you just how hard it is to overtake. Thankfully, we've got an onboard lap from Jay King, who talked us through it as well. So why don't we have a look at that now?
Hello, this is Jay King. I'm a pit bike round 140, doing a lap of Lydd in Kent. So here we are now, exiting the final corner onto the start and finish straight, over the curbs, down to third, into the first right, flick it to left, aim for the curbs on the way out, just clipping that one, up into fourth, back down to third again for the next fast chicane. Hold it tight, once again, aim onto the curbs on the way out, and then drift it out for this fast right-hander. all the way out once again, aiming for the curb on the way out. Feel the bike low light over the jump, and just over the jump down into third for the next right. Flick over left, try and hold it as tight as possible so you can get as much power onto the back straight. Down to the back straight. I use the curb on the outside as the braking marker for this very fast last corner. Missed the garden feature on the inside and back across the line, and that's a lap of Lydd.
Well, there you go, lap of Lydd courtesy of Jay King. Liam, you used to ride yourself many years ago, clearly.
A wee bit of a dig.
Tell us what you think of the circuit. Now we've been here, you've been here since Thursday, so you've had a good few days to have a look at the track. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I've been here since Thursday, as you said, basking in the sunshine, which has given me obviously a bit of a sunburn. But I managed to walk the track on Friday night, and it was a circuit that I am jealous that these kids and adults get to race on, because it was a circuit that I would love to race on. It looks very technical, very rider friendly, and we've got great tracks up north in Scotland like Lark Hall and Raceland before it was demolished, unfortunately. But this track here down Lydd in Kent looks state of the art in a track term, but even though we had some standing water yesterday and the wet weather, but for all the riders love it. Some of them have never ridden it before this weekend, but they come off and they're beaming from ear to ear because how great it is. It's a very tough track, but it really builds you as a rider. So these kids, they go to many different circuits, and Lydd is just another one of those circuits which is completely different to the rest of the calendar, and they've got to learn it.
Yeah, it's almost when you look at the circuit, the format that we're running for the mini bikes, it's kind of 3 chicanes, 3 hairpins almost, isn't it? And then a double right-hander to end us off. But those chicanes and hairpins, very, very different when you come to them. If you didn't get to tune in yesterday, you'll see what we were talking about. Very different if you were tuned in yesterday. As you can see, it is completely dry now, thankfully, for round number 5, day 2. And the first class out, as ever, is going to be the AC40 rookies. So we're going to have the second and third round of races today, starting with AC40 rookies. Our coverage will run till about 1 p.m, where we will finish off with a mini GP50 race 2, and we'll come back for the last set of race 2s before we go into all the race 3 action. Okay then, let's get into the grid as we are on the warm-up laps for the Junior AC40 rookies. Starting on pole position for this one then, it's going to be Blake Wilson, qualified on pole yesterday. 4th in the championship, 2 wins to his name so far, 8 podiums this season. Championship leader Archie Gibbs will start alongside him on the front row. Ollie Sims is going to be on row number 2, made it 10 podiums for the season yesterday with a fantastic ride. Joshua Williams, 10th in the championship, could get on the podium for the first time this season. Watch him on the number 78 from 4th. Luke Fitchett and Marco Holt chasing down a first podium on row 3. Row number 4, it's Casey Sperry. Got a podium as 1 podium for the season with Thorley Trevorrow alongside. Casey Sperry did very well yesterday. Definitely watch out for him. Arnie Carr and Brandon Keane round out our top 10. Then we have Archie O'Brien and Wilson Delks, Bailey Lawrence and William Harris, row 7. Row 8, it's Harry Payne and Max Wilson. Then it's Chloe Sewell and Izzy Carter. Mini Rossi there on row number 9. Recovered from a very nasty injury recently. And then at the back of the grid we have Callum Maxwell and Tristan Poyser.
Yes, so as the riders get ready on the grid, it looked like there was a mini moto just lying down the grid. But we've also got a big announcement to make today. There's a very special marshal on circuit. His name is Hobie, and it is his 18th birthday today. So very well, big happy birthday from here at FAB-Racing to Hobie, our checkered flag marshal. There he is there on screen. So yeah, give us a big wave, Hobie, if you can hear us on the PA system.
Is that him?
No, he's like, are they talking about me? Yeah, we are talking about you. So I don't think they've actually told him yet, but yeah, we believe he's a little bit tender after celebrating his birthday last night. So we've got the start of the race. The riders are looking at the green flag. Revs are rising as they put their there's a couple of jump starts there at the back, but once again we're away, and it's Archie Gibbs who gets a great start past Blake Wilson, and to turn number 1 in the lead, Archie Gibbs, your championship leader, slotting into second there. Turn number 4, the chicane towards the back end of the circuit, but great start. Out on a podium position after retiring on the first lap there. So as we've got the runners and riders heading down towards the far end of the circuit there, some of the riders further back, great riding from some of the riders that don't have as much experience as the riders up front. So we're coming into the infield section, late on the brakes into the hairpin, round the outside by number 11. That was a fantastic move there by Harry Payne. Great pass round the outside, a very tough corner to make a move around there. So Chris, as we head into lap number 2, it looks like we've still got Blake Wilson ahead of Archie Gibbs as they come across start officially. Now Blake Wilson swerving over the track just to make sure that Archie Gibbs can't make a move, but Archie Gibbs was too far back there.
Yeah, it looks like a very good start there from Blake Wilson. As you said, there you can see he is on the predominantly red leathers as they come round that second chicane and up towards the far hairpin. Doing a good job so far, but being chased down here by Archie Gibbs. Gibbs keeping him very honest at the moment, and Archie Gibbs could do with a good result here. Did not finish yesterday's race, a fortunate race for him, so needs to claw back some points in the championship, does Archie Gibbs, as we are now tied for the lead of the championship with Archie Gibbs and Ollie Sims, who started on row number 2, and Ollie Sims is in 3rd place at the moment, so whoever finishes ahead out of the riders in 2nd and 3rd will go into the last race of the weekend, the championship leader. But Blake Wilson, it is more importantly than that, who leads this race at the moment. There he is out front as we come in towards the first chicane for the 3rd time. It's Wilson, Gibbs, Sims, Fitchett is 4th, Williams is 5th. We mentioned Casey Sperry, who got his first podium of the season yesterday. He's now up to 6th ahead of Marco Holt. Then it's Arnie Carr, Brandon Keane, Harry Payne, Trevor O'Harris, O'Brien, Lawrence and Wilson just behind that.
Yes, some great riding there further down the field, as you just mentioned there. Casey Sperry, now he's been feeling confident all weekend. The 2nd and 3rd in some of the practice sessions earlier on in the weekend, but look at the line that Archie Gibbs takes into that right-hander. Blake Wilson takes it very tight, but Archie Gibbs likes a big sweeping run into it, gains a little bit of time back, but Blake Wilson's going very defensive earlier on in the race, where he doesn't really need to because Archie Gibbs isn't close enough, but we're already at the back markers, moving out the way very nicely there, but it seems to have benefited Archie Gibbs. Sims looks like they're closing up a little bit on the top 2 as well, 1.7 seconds further back from your race leaders. They've got a big gap over Fitchett at the moment, who's still holding off onto a very safe 4th spot, 3rd in the championship at the moment. But as that gap come down between the top 3, yes, it has ever so slightly there, so a 10th of a second covering the top 3. But Blake Wilson setting 1 minute 2.7, then we've got Archie Gibbs a 1 minute 2.6, and then Ollie Sims 1 minute 2.4. so this could be heating up to be a very good last couple of laps, Chris.
Yep, here we go then, in through the second chicane. We're just going to have a look further back down the field and see if we can pick out any battles there, but it's certainly Wilson who still leads out front. Gibbs 2nd place, but for how long? Sims is 3rd, Fitchett 4th, Casey Sperry making even more progress now as he's gone up to 5th place. Further down the field we can see a 4-way battle going on here between the likes of Arnie Carr, Brandon Keane, Harry Payne and William Harris. Ollie Trevor also in there as well.
Move there, yeah, very late on the brakes, right up the inside. Brandon Keane pushing the Harry Payne wide, or Arnie Carr unfortunately wide, and Arnie Carr has dropped back a couple of positions there. So Keane, Payne and Harris have all benefited from that move that started by Brandon Keane, Chris.
Yeah, well, great move. It was into the first infield hairpin, so good stuff there. But side by side once again, Harry Payne's trying to respond here, couldn't quite go around the outside going in towards the first corner, so Keane holds on to that 8th place for the time being. Behind it is very close between William Harris and Arnie Carr as well. 4 riders all together now going up towards the far hairpin, battling over 8th place. Further ahead, Archie Gibbs has set the fastest lap in 2nd place to close the gap down to just 2.5 tenths to our race leader, Blake Wilson. Good stuff this from Archie Gibbs. Ollie Sims unable to hold on to the top 2 at the moment, but if a battle ensues, will certainly be there.
as Harry Payne on the number 11 trying to dive to the outside of Brandon Keane once again. Has briefly got past Keane but has not been able to properly execute a move yet, as Liam just points out to me. Ollie Sims now sets the fastest lap of the race, so Ollie Sims responding to the pace of Wilson and Gibbs, and the top three are now just split by half a second as we have 3 laps to go in this first race of the day. It's race number 2 for the AC40 rookies, and it is extremely close, but up ahead we can see Harry Payne trying to go round the outside in towards the first corner, and Brandon Keane was just able to hold on. In fact, it was into the second chicane.
Yeah, some great battling going on, as you said there, Chris. But looking down to 15th place, I'd like to draw your attention to Max Wilson. He's currently holding on to a point-scoring position. This is his second round of the championship. He came over from 5 years in karting, and he's now doing his second ever mini moto round. So great ride there by Max Wilson. But here's your race leaders. It's Blake Wilson, Archie Gibbs, Ollie Sims, your top 4 in the championship so far. But Blake Wilson is finding some great speed round at this Lydd circuit in Kent. Taking a defensive line, Archie Gibbs, your championship leader, and Ollie Sims both tying on points. So whoever wins or whoever beats the other from this race will go into the championship lead. But Ollie Sims, as you said, has been setting some fastest laps. The fastest rider on track the last time round with a 1:03.8. So as we go into the bottom end of the circuit, look at the different lanes. Archie Gibbs taking a very defensive tight line. Ollie Sims going round the outside, but then as he gets to this corner, Blake Wilson being very defensive. Look at the speed that Archie Gibbs gets through the right-hander into the left. But this is an important bit, flicking it from left into right, over the curb, ever so slightly. Don't spin up the rear tyre, down the back straight, into the hairpin. This is where any move can happen. There's only a lap and a half to go. So Archie Gibbs is sizing up a move on Blake Wilson. Will he be able to get the speed off any corner? Will Blake Wilson, who's holding a very defensive line through these corners, manage to hold on? Or will Ollie Sims find a way past both of them and take his first race win for a number of races? So this is very tight as they approach the last lap, Chris.
Yep, here we go into the final lap, and Blake Wilson perhaps going too defensive here as he hugs the apex of almost every single corner. You can really tell he's feeling the pressure out there as Archie Gibbs really starts to turn it up behind. Ollie Sims is now getting very close as well. It could be any one of these 3 riders who goes on to take the victory in this second race, but Archie Gibbs and Ollie Sims are going to have to try and find a move round the outside of Blake Wilson, because there's clearly no room down the inside anywhere, as we can see the riders now tipping their way out of the fast right-hander. They're now making their way down to the first of the infield hairpins. Through the first one they go. They now go up towards the left-hand hairpin, and it's still Blake Wilson who leads. He's done a fantastic job to defend this behind. Ollie Sims is trying to get past Archie Gibbs, the 2 championship leaders going head-to-head, but I think it's going to be 3 wins for Blake Wilson this season. Out of the final corner, another win at Lydd for Blake Wilson, 3 for the season. Fantastic riding. Archie Gibbs is going to finish in second place and Ollie Sims in third. You would not think that was the AC40 rookies class. Very, very clean riding. Huge respect between all 3, and it's Blake Wilson who wins. That was the battle we were following earlier in the race that came across the line, and it was Brandon Keane who finished 8th, with Harry Payne 9th, Arnie Carr 10th, William Harris was 11th.
Wow, what a way to start the day's action. The AC40 rookies giving us some great battling all the way through. The top 3 covered by a sheet of paper, basically. So it was Blake Wilson taking his second race win of the weekend, his third of the season. Archie Gibbs, your championship leader, 4 points ahead of Ollie Sims, who came into this race tied on points. Archie Gibbs picking up that second. Ollie Sims in third means that Archie Gibbs takes the full championship lead. Luke Fitchett just misses out on a podium position on bike number 96 in fourth. Casey Spadey, who picked up his first podium position yesterday in the wet, takes a well-earned first place in the dry today. Joshua Williams on bike number 78 in sixth ahead of Marco Holt. Brandon Keane, Harry Payne, Arnie Carr all embroiled in that tight battle for 7th position. That is the order there, and rounding out the top 10 was Arnie Carr. Just outside the top 10 was William Harris, Archie O'Brien in 12th. We've got Thorley Trevorrow in 13th, Bailey Lawrence in 14th, and Max Wilson, only in his second round of racing mini motos, picked up a well-earned point in 15th place. So this is Cool FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship 2019, round number 5 from Lydd and Kent. The very great karting circuit down south at the bottom of England, nearly in France. We're not that far away, which basically feels like. But next up, it's the premier class of the Cool FAB-Racing. It's the Mini GP70s.
Mini GP 70s coming up next then. It's our premier class. Here they come out on to the circuit for the warm-up lap. So whilst they are getting round to the grid, here's Liam Hodgins to take you through the grid.
So it's Ryan Hitchcock who picked up pole position yesterday on bike number 43, 5th in the championship with 5 podium positions. James Cook, your former championship leader, led yesterday's race 1 until he crashed out, giving Evan Belford, who starts at 3rd, the race win. In 4th place, it's Eddie O'Shea, very quick in the wet yesterday. Can he do the same in the dry conditions today? In 5th spot, we have the number 69 of Harrison Crosby, 7th in the championship with 1 podium position to his name, ahead of the number 25 of Kyle Payne in 8th spot. Ollie Walker is just in front of him. That is going to be the number 48, but looks like we've got a rider stop. That's Carter Brown. No, Carter Brown has had a troubled weekend. Yes, Carter Brown, who's having trouble on his bike at the moment, so they're trying to get Carter Brown's bike started, the number 37. That's not good for the youngster just there. But rounding out the runners and riders for the rest of this grid, it's Johnny Garness on bike number 57, Dylan Mellor on bike number 31 in 10th. It's Thomas Gomez next up on bike number 98, Carter Brown, who we just saw there, having trouble with his bike. Will he be able to get started? Will he be able to get back round and start from 12th? It doesn't look like it at the moment. Bailey Stewart Campbell is in 13th. He's 4th in the championship with 3 podiums to his name, starting all the way down there. Owen Mellor in 10th in the championship, ahead of Saffron Watley, Alfie Davidson in 16th, and then it's Finn Smart, who's back this weekend after breaking his leg earlier on in the season, is 17th, and rounding out your runners and riders for the start of the Mini GP70s.
Well, you can see Ryan Hitchcock to the left of screen, starting on the outside of the front row. It's James Cook, had a fall yesterday, recovered to 9th, needs a podium in this one. It was Evan Belford from Eddie O'Shea and Harrison Crosby. That was your podium yesterday. Hitchcock on pole position, finished 4th, so he'll be desperately keen to get on that podium, as will James Cook. It's going to be a very, very interesting run down to that first chicane with 2 riders who will want to get in that lead of the race very quickly and will want to stay there for the duration of this 13-lapper. You can see all the riders getting ready to go there. We do have a problem for Carter Brown, unfortunately, so we're going to have perhaps a slight delay here as Carter Brown tries to get his bike going again. Carter Brown, who was due to start from 12th place, is unfortunately hitting some problems. Finished 11th in the first race yesterday, so did move up. But he's being rebuilt to the bix. Maybe he'll start from there, but here we go. It's Hitchcock to the left, Cook to the right. Lights go out and we're off away in racing. It was a fantastic start there from the second row. I think that was Evan Belford who's gone into the lead of the race. The second row certainly got away better than the first did. I think Eddie O'Shea has come up to 3rd place. Cook looks to be in 2nd, but that looks like it's Evan Belford to me who is leading as we go down towards the hairpin. For the first time, a clean start, but a slow start from both riders on the front row, unfortunately. The second were quicker to see the lights going out. There you can see Carter Brown, sadly, not going to be going out in this one. We'll watch on as the rest of the riders get going. In towards the final corner we go for the first time, and as they come across the line we'll bring you the order as they come across it. It's Evan Belford who is leading the way from James Cook in 2nd, 9/10 behind, and then it's O'Shea, Hitchcock, Crosby, Garness, Stewart Campbell, Walker, Mellor and Carl Payne, your top 10.
Great start there from Evan Belford. Your championship leader is on a run of form at the moment, picking up 6 race wins in a row, but we're looking at Bailey Stewart Campbell. That's the battle down there for 5th, 6th and 7th. That's Harrison Crosby, Johnny Garnett, Bailey Stewart Campbell, and just behind them is Ollie Walker now. The riders don't turn right just yet to head into the infield. They go straight down the back straight into the final corner. Is that a move by Ollie Walker up the inside of Campbell? No, it's not yet, but it looks like Garness is looking up the inside of Crosby. Has he made it stick? No, not yet, but Billy Stewart Campbell tags the back of Garness. Wow, that could have been a big accident there. Luckily, both riders get away unscathed for the moment. That wasn't actually Garness, that was Crosby. So Garness got into 5th place just before Crosby got tagged there by Stuart Campbell. But once again, as the riders settle down into the back end of the circuit, this is why this is the premier class of the racing, because we've got Stuart Campbell leery on the brakes into the tight right hander at the bottom end of the circuit. Flick it right, then back to right, flick it left, back to right again. Stuart Campbell coming from 13th on the grid, making inroads into the race leaders. Will he make a stick in the final turn? Not yet. He's not quite confident on the brakes compared to Crosby, but as he comes across our first line again, Crosby runs a little bit wide over the curbs. Is Stuart Campbell going for it? Not again. Wow, that's crazy close stuff from Stuart Campbell and Crosby as he starts lap number 3. Will he go round the outside into the chicane? He's not doing it just yet. Very clear there from Stuart Campbell, but Ollie Walker might pick up the pieces here. But as you can see, Chris, Bill Stuart Campbell's making everything possible to try and get past Crosby.
Yeah, Stuart Campbell getting very frustrated, but I think this could be the move. Can he? No, he can't. So Stuart Campbell, well, he and Harrison Crosby just slowing each other up here. It's allowing the likes of Johnny Garness to go down the road, but I think this is the run for Stuart Campbell down the inside into the final corner. He's finally through, so Bailey Stuart Campbell now through, has to get his head down and pull a gap straight away. It'll leave the likes of Harrison Crosby to deal with Ollie Walker as they come out of the first chicane and into the second chicane. Harrison Crosby has been left under yet more pressure now from the likes of Ollie Walker, Dylan Medder, and Cole Payne is not too far back from that as well. Evan Belford, meanwhile, out front has pulled a gap of 2.6 seconds from James Cook. Is this a case of James Cook taking his time, or is it a case of Evan Belford simply has pace that no one else can match? There goes Ollie Walker down the inside of Crosby, and Ollie Walker into the final corner has taken 7th place from Harrison Crosby, who is dropping down the field.
We just also had a pass from Kyle Payne taking Dylan Mellor into the final turn as well. But look, Bailey Stuart Campbell, no wonder he was trying everything to get past Crosby. He's now just set the fastest lap of the race, a 41.314. But we're looking at the battle for second and third at the moment. It's O'Shea chasing the back of James Cook. James Cook, who was your former championship leader, had a bit of an awful day yesterday as second and third make their way down to the airport. But we can see Bailey Stuart Campbell going out of shot there, lining up Johnny Garness for 5th place. So we will have to keep an eye out on that battle running through the field. But as we can see, that's Owen Mellor further back, having a little bit of issues in this race so far. Dylan Mellor's his brother is further up the order at the moment. But as the riders come across the start finish line once again, Evan Belford's lead is now up to 3.2 seconds over Eddie O'Shea. Ryan Hitchcock is still in 4th ahead of Johnny Garness. Stuart Campbell, that's
James Cook.
James Cook is down. That's James Cook at the second chicane, has crashed out of second position. That's the second time this weekend that he's crashed out of the race, but he's back up, he's back in the race. We'll have to see where he slots into the running order, but that's disaster for James Cook, putting under a lot of pressure there from Eddie O'Shea. So Eddie O'Shea has inherited that second place, and that means Ryan Hitchcock moves up to 3rd. Bailey Stuart Campbell has got ahead of Johnny Garness and he's now in 4th spot. Can he hunt down the race leaders and try and grab a podium position?
Well, I can see Bailey Stuart Campbell just coming through that second chicane now, and Stuart Campbell's closing in. There's Carter Brown, who couldn't get going at the start. Carter Brown on the 37 is coming back out of the pits and will at least be able to put some laps in our first dry race of the weekend for the Mini GP 70. Eddie O'Shea, the predominantly green and white livery, hunting down Evan Belford out front, but he's got a gap of 4.1 seconds to close. I'd say Belford, with 6 laps to go, has this one wrapped up. Ryan Hitchcock is about 8/10 back from this, but when you look back from Hitchcock, you'll see Stuart Campbell, who is setting the fastest laps of the race, a 41.3 for Bailey Stuart Campbell. He did a 41.7 last time, which was still the quickest out of anyone on circuit. So Bailey Stuart Campbell absolutely flying out there, and it looks like he's passed Ryan Hitchcock already. So on this lap, Bailey Stuart Campbell has gone into 3rd place. He's now hunting down Eddie O'Shea, who has a look over his shoulder going into the final corners. Eddie O'Shea knows he is being caught here, and there's perhaps nothing he can do about it as Stuart Campbell tips his way into the first chicane. Eddie O'Shea, who we can see a little bit further ahead, has perhaps nothing to do to stop this. As we look a little bit further back, this looks like Johnny Garness versus Ollie Walker coming into the second chicane. Ollie Walker trying to close down a top 5 finish from Johnny Garness. Johnny Garness has fallen back from the likes of Hitchcock here, and we'll have to think about defending as we go in towards the final 5 laps. Carl Payne is doing very well as well. He's just behind this, as is Harrison Crosby. They could get involved if a battle starts ahead of them. Dylan Mellor and James Cook round out the top 10, but Stuart Campbell piling the pressure now on Eddie O'Shea as they come out of the first chicane.
He's got the pressure on Eddie O'Shea. A 41.4 once again from Stuart Campbell last time round. He's on lap record pace at the moment, the fastest rider on track. He's even quicker than Belford. So will Stuart Campbell make a way past O'Shea as he head towards the brow and into the right hand? Oh, a bit of a moment there from O'Shea as the bike is shaking from side to side on the brakes. That has got to give Bale Stuart Campbell a lot of confidence, tipping it through the fast right hander. The run onto the back straight, late on the brakes into the final turn, not doing it quite yet. So Eddie O'Shea is a demon on the brakes, but we'll see Stuart Campbell for the last few races. The last few rounds has been very, very quick on 1 lap pace. So once again, the pace has dropped for Stuart Campbell as he's caught the back of O'Shea, but will he get the run out of the chicane into the second one? Not quite yet. So this is the battle for second and third position, your final podium spots. But we can see that Eddie O'Shea is great in defensive mastery around this Lydd circuit in Kent. But once again, look at Stuart Campbell all over the back of O'Shea on the green bike. Not doing it just yet, but further down the field we're still looking at the battle for Garness and Walker. Only a tenth of a second cover them, but this is the battle for second. This is the one for the big money down towards the final turn. Bale Stuart Campbell late on the brakes, looks up the inside. Will he nip up the inside coming out of the final turn? Not yet, but he's got a great run onto the home straight, up the inside into the chicane. Not doing it yet, so we've got a great battle here. This is O'Shea showing why he's so good on the brakes and so good. Oh, well, look at that. That's Stuart Campbell up the inside in the second chicane. Didn't see that coming. It surprised me and O'Shea at the same time.
Yes, Stuart Campbell there. Good move down the inside into the second chicane. He is the fastest on track, but he just started too far back. A lap and a half to go, and, well, Evan Belford almost 5 seconds clear out front. There's simply nothing Stuart Campbell can do. He started all the way down in 13th place, did Bailey Stuart Campbell. Super impressive ride to come up to second place. But our leader, we can see our leader coming through the first chicane now and up towards the second chicane in that predominantly black crash helmet. You can see very easy to pick out Evan Belford. Black bike, black crash helmet, and he's charging his way now down to the hairpin for the final time. He's really eased off on these last couple of laps. His gap has shrunk to 2.5 seconds, but Belford, well, this will be 7 wins on the bounce for him with just a couple of corners to go.
Yes, Belford in command of this race and this championship as he heads down towards the final turn. Look at his knee sliders hanging off, so that'll be scraping along the ground and tagging onto the ground, but comes out final corner. Evan Belford takes his 7th win in a row. Great right there. Bailey Stuart Campbell very nearly managed to catch him. Quick lap there from Bailey Stuart Campbell in second spot, coming from 13th on the grid into second position. Eddie O'Shea in third, picking up another well-earned podium position ahead of the number 43 of Ryan Hitchcock. Ollie Walker did get Johnny Garness on the last couple of laps, and Johnny Garness slips it down to 6th, but as we can see, Evan Belford getting congratulated by Saffron Watley. In 7th it was Kyle Payne, Harrison Crosby in 8th, and across the line, is it Dylan Miller? Is it Owen Miller? Yes, Dylan Miller manages to get 9th, James Cook 10th, Joe Fadiger in 11th, Thomas Gomez 12th, and then Owen Miller in 13th ahead of Alfie Davidson. Finn Smart, who picks up a point on his return to racing this weekend after breaking his leg at round number 1 at Clandow. And then Saffron Watley rounds out your runners and riders, just missing out on a points paying position.
Well, fantastic ride from that man there, Evan Belford, with the knee slider in his hand. Fantastic riding. Won by 2 seconds in the end. The results will show a different story to what really happened, because he charged to a victory that was over 5 seconds going in to the final lap. Bailey Stewart Campbell with the fastest lap came up from 13th to finish second. Eddie O'Shea rounding out our podium. Another good performance from him. Ryan Hitchcock, Ollie Walker, Johnny Garness, Carl Payne, Harrison Crosby, Dylan Miller and James Cook, after falling once again, were your top 10. Real disappointment for James Cook so far this weekend. He'll be looking to bounce back in the final race. Joe Farragher was 11th, Thomas Gomez 12th, and it was Owen Miller, Alfie Davidson, Finn Smart with a point on his return. Fantastic stuff for him. Saffron Rotley was who rounded out the field. That was Mini GP 70 for you, race number 2, and now it's race number 2 time for AC40 Pro.
Yeah, so some great action there from the Mini GP70s, and we've got to say the standout ride from that race has to be Bailey Stewart Campbell. 13th on the grid after not struggling in the wet conditions yesterday, comes to the field and takes a second position. It's just a bit of a shame that he'll be starting from 13th once again for race number 3, so he'll have to do it all over again.
Yeah, well, you got Evan Belford, who's just unstoppable.